Hey, hello everyone. My name is Matt Wilde. I'm the course leader for the MFA in Professional Acting and the course leader for the MA Directing program.
Hi everyone, my name is Sivalingam. I'm the course leader for the BA Professional Acting program at LAMDA. Welcome.
I guess we'll start. We've got a couple of questions that have come in already, and then feel free to ask us anything you want and we'll answer those too. But let's kick off with one that we know that we've got, which is around a sort of overview of what both these courses cover. Do you want to start with the BA?
So the BA course is a 3-year program. The general outline of the course is that the first 2 years is a thin, long modules of actor training and all the things that are covered in that. So acting through voice or acting through movement, actor training techniques, acting through singing. All of these things, even though we split them up in individual subjects, they really all form acting as a whole. You work in a cohort of about 30 students we take every year, and you'll often work in cohorts of 15, so split down the middle. The training program in the first year tends to weight more to skills classes, and you'll then apply those skills in project work through the year. And this can include creating your own stuff, working from yourself, contemporary scene work, a little bit of work on classical text, and in the final part of the first year you come together as a company of 30 together, all of you working on Greek plays. Part of the reasoning around this is you being able to work together. It's a voice and movement led project, and it's about, I suppose, feeling the company, feeling the breadth of the people you work with. LAMDA places a lot of emphasis on the ensemble. We like to say that we don't train stars, although many of our students have gone on to be stars in the industry currently and in the past. The second year of the BA program is a little bit more, you start to move a little bit more towards the project and the application of skills. So each term you will be doing 1 to 2 projects in which you synthesize the skills that you're learning. And the final year is, I would consider that a bridge year of training in which you are treated as a professional. You will be doing professional productions in our studio spaces and our Sainsbury Theatre, which is a larger space. These are often directed by working professionals in the industry, and they're public productions in which friends, family, the public in general can come to see it, but it's also a way to introduce you to the industry, so agents, casting directors are often invited to come and see it throughout the year. There is a little module of self-created work on the BA, which happens right at the end of the program, just before you graduate. The important thing to note is that while we are a BA program and it is a university degree, we are a higher education provider, the BA is very much about practical hands-on work. You do not have any academic writing that is necessary. We are a conservatoire training, a higher education institution, a university, but with the ethos of a conservatoire training. Certainly in this program, it is modeled around doing rather than perhaps talking about doing. That's a BA.
Great. The MFA Professional Acting program follows a sort of similar pathway in the sense that it's a 2-year intensive program following that conservatoire model. And by conservatoire we mean intense, we mean all day, every day. Obviously not the weekends, but Monday to Friday. So there's an intense program. So it's 35 to 40 hours, certainly when we're in classes, so it's not sporadic lectures here and there. And the first year of the MFA program is about skills acquisition. So it is those voice and movement and acting classes and singing and the synthesis of all of those sorts of things alongside project work. So for example, in the first year of the MFA, you look at contemporary scenes work, We look at Shakespeare or classical texts. We look at naturalism in its many forms, whether that's European naturalism or American naturalism. We look at contemporary scenes in a more advanced way, the screen and audio work. So there's these acquisitions of all of these skills that are then put into those projects. And then the second year of the MFA follows a very sort of similar part of the final year of the BA program. And that's the professional industry-facing year, where you're in rep season. By rep season, we mean every term we have a season of plays filling our studio theatres and the Sainsbury Theatre. And so the BAs and the MFAs are both doing public-facing shows. They may be small studio-based plays with sort of 6 to 8 cast, or in the Sainsbury where the cast might sort of expand to 15. We also have a showcase, an industry showcase in the middle of that, which is shared. So the BAs and the MFA do the showcase together, not separate showcases. And that is hosted here, and that's attended by casting directors and agents, etc., etc. So that happens in our Easter sort of term, in amongst this sort of whole programme of work. Both programmes, both the MFA and the BA programme, also do films. So you are involved in an original short film that is written bespoke for that company of actors. So professional directors and writers and the whole team come in to create that. So you come out of both programmes, in fact, with a show reel of a film that you've done, as well as show reel scenes and things as well. But we can explore the sort of screen and audio delivery on those programmes kind of separately. There's a lot of devised and self-led work, so there's a whole module strand on the MFA programme. So at the beginning of your second year, you form companies and you spend the whole year working and developing work. There's a lot of crossover with the director's course on the MA directing programme. They work with you. So the final module, the same as the BA programme that finishes with some self-created work, so does the MFAs, but it's a bit more of a mini festival. We call it the CoLab Festival, the Collaborative Festival. So that's the final big project that you've been building towards, of making an original creative piece of work. And that's industry facing too. So as well as those public facing seasons and the films and the showcase, there's also this mini festival of work. So that's a sort of overview of the MFA professional acting programme as well. So I talked a little bit about the MA directing programme too. So the MA directing programme, we take 6 students, approximately 6 students currently on that programme. And that begins with a series of seminars and practical seminars, as well as small group seminars and classes and master classes. And we have various practitioners who teach us. So currently Katie Mitchell teaches on that programme as a visiting director. And various other industry professionals come in and teach on that. You shadow some of the acting classes to begin with, so you go to those voice and those movements and those singing classes to kind of understand what the training is of an actor and the interaction with actors. You don't have to be an actor to be in those programs. It's about understanding that experience and then that training and that work that an actor is doing to create character, to create role. And then you were involved in a series of assisting directing. Very fortunate here, we do lots of plays and lots of films. So as a director, you get to be in some incredible spaces and incredible rooms with professional directors who come in. So you assist on a various range of projects alongside making your own work. So you do a devised project that you create from scratch. You're directing small scenes with actors. And all of this is sort of culminating an accumulation of seminars and practical work and masterclasses with various people in screen and audio too. As well as assisting in rooms, culminates in you directing your own show at the end of that, own production in one of our studio theatres here that you cast from the wealth of talent that you have here. One of the modules is also, we do in combination with the Royal Welsh College with a design programme there. So they do an excellent theatre design programme there. So we couple our directors up with designers from Royal Welsh. There's a couple of modules they do where they create and design shows all the way through to before you actually build it and make it. So a non-practical outcome. And then you then find, and you may end up using one of those designers or another designer who might collaborate with on that final project that I talked about. So there's a whole sort of tranche of work with designers, but very practical work that you do before you culminate in a big final program. What's interesting about both the programs, similar to the MFA, they're vocational programs. They're about doing. So the MFA has some written work on it, but it's reflective writing. It's not huge essays. If you're making and creating work, I want you to talk about it. You have your assessments is about your ability to articulate what you discovered, what you have found. And the same with some of the writing moments, and more to do with journals. You keep a reflective, creative journal. We look at that and we discuss that as opposed to going to formal lectures or seminars. So it's a vocational training program. And the same with the MA directing program. Again, a lot of that is doing. And the writing that we ask you to do is reflections on projects, reflection on your assisting projects, as opposed to sort of a formal academic essay, so to speak. And that's a sort of overview of those programs, really. Yeah, how big are the groups on each program? Great question. So, Vic mentioned the same, and across the school, so there are cohorts of 30 on the BA and on the MFA program, the two main acting programs. But you're never very ever rarely taught in a program of 30, maybe in a big masterclass you might have, or a Q&A with someone who's visiting, or LAMDA lunches that we have. But you're working groups of 15, it's much smaller groups. And then sometimes some specialist things like singing are offering quarter groups, so you might be in a group of 7 or 8. But no class is ever bigger than 15. Casts in plays can vary from 5, 6 to 8 up to 15, and sometimes we might, but rarely do we have casts that are bigger than 15. Yeah. The MA directing program is currently recruits at 6 is the target group, and that's partly to do with so that we can support and give you those assisting opportunities that we have. Demand for places is huge, it's high. We have many students for each of those places, so it's quite a rigorous audition and recruitment process with various levels. But as Vic mentioned earlier, ensemble is at the core of a lot of what we do. It's the same for the MFA program, so we're not just looking for your ability to shine and to show promise and to show potential to train, because that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for finished articles, but we're looking for your ability to be able to work with others, to make work with others, to collaborate and to connect. So part of our recruitment process, our audition process, is doing workshops and seeing you work and make work and listen and connect with other people in the room as well. So I hope that answers the size of group question.
I think the groups are kept quite small, 15 in the class, primarily because then the ratio of tutor to student interaction, it allows for the maximum amount of time that you can spend in a room and learn and quote unquote fail, because without making mistakes we never learn anything, and that's pretty much at the heart of the training. It's about being brave to come into spaces and try things without knowing what the end result is. Theatre, as we said, very much we talk about the ensemble. Basically that means working together, and theatre is probably the most collaborative art form, and we try and work with people who are interested in that, and we inculcate that from day one. It is probably the most amazing thing when you are grooving in a room together with like creatives and finding things that make you excited or happy or angry or frustrated, but you're doing it together, and you can have robust conversations, robust arguments, always with the need to move forward and evolve.
And that ensemble thing, I mean, the ensemble also stretches to the collaborative nature of the work that you do. So that final season where you're doing lots and lots of different kinds of shows, that has movement support and voice support, whether that's in the guise of a choreographer or a movement director or accent support. So there's always this work is always supported in your workshop work in your first and second year, or in your first year of MFA. If you're doing a project, you might have voice support and all that. So there's always these other, to reflect how it is in the industry, to give you those experiences that when you're making work out there, you are in a room full of creative, not a single teacher/director. So we begin to move into that you're surrounded by designers and the incredible PTAS program, which is our stage technical, film, theatre technical training program. So those students support you as stage managers, as DSMs, as lighting designers, as sound designers. So that's part of our ensemble that we're talking What sort of experience do you look for MFA? Really good question. The sort of baseline of that is that often we're looking for a good level arts degree or arts or humanities degree. And good level, we're sort of talking about someone who's achieved a 2-1 or above, or whatever the sort of international equivalent of that is. But more often than not, and often students come with a degree that isn't necessarily in that, but have a whole range or swathe of experience. You know, they did politics at university, spent most of their time in the drama studio making and creating work and being very interested in that. So it's demonstrating an interest, a desire, a passion to train and to learn. Not looking for a huge amount of professional experience by any means, it's an ability to learn. So often you may well have done a drama undergraduate program where you've explored it from a sort of academic point of view and you've had some skills class, and what the training program here gives you is that vocational conservatoire training. And that's often the route, but not the only route. But you may have minimal experience, but you've demonstrated a real interest in it and why you want to do it, and to be able to articulate that along with what you sort of demonstrate to us in the audition. So there's no sort of prerequisite tick list, but a good to be able to deal with the demands of a master's program. I don't mean that in an academic way, I mean in that terms of advanced training, of advanced thinking, of advanced reflection. There's an element of you being able to lean onto that from your undergraduate program, or if you don't have an undergraduate program, maybe you're coming with a whole range of industry experience, and maybe you trained or did some classes a long time ago, but you've been doing bits and pieces in between. So it can be quite wide-ranging. So it's not a simple answer to that, really, on the MFA program.
I think it's really useful to also say that the difference between the two programs really is time. On the BA you are working in over 3 years, and the MFA you're working over 2 years. So it does help to have had some experience, prior experience. But as Matt's just said, if you don't have an undergraduate degree, don't be put off.
Yeah.
Still apply. We can talk you through what that means, and then you can, if you make it to the audition stage, you will be seen, and you will be worked together in a room, and we'll be able to work things out. In the end, we're looking for people who are passionate about wanting to be in the arts as a vocation rather than as a short stop. I think while we know about the industry as being something that is highly populated, we also really believe that training yourself in the arts and certainly some of the work that we do is great for humanity. I know that sounds very lofty, but there is something about the ability or the freedom of the artist to find ways and solutions to problems that working with one another, with each other, in support of something that is bigger and greater than themselves. That's, I think, something that's incredibly useful.
It is, and you may discover those other things that you didn't know that you had. A writer in you, the director in you, the designer in you, the graphic designer, the musician, the composer, all of those things. And there are opportunities to kind of explore those that, we do singing here, and you may never have thought of yourself as a singer, but then you step into a studio and suddenly discover that you have a voice, and actually that's a really wonderful tool to have to give yourself a varied and interesting career. So all of those are open. Yeah, great. What's the balance of screen and theatre work on the MFA and BA? Let's talk about BA first,
Yeah, I think you get introduced to screen work in the technical elements of screen work. I should preface all of this by saying that personally I don't believe there is any difference in acting. The medium is different. In theatre you are working with a scale that maybe you don't need to work with in film, because the technology does the scale for you. So a camera can come into you and pick up the nuances of acting. The form and the writing is slightly different for both genres as such, or theatrical and screen work. But the acting technique isn't necessarily different. You'll hear lots of things. What we do in the training is to give you the tools, and the practice to be able to stretch, to expand or reduce as and when necessary, and that's what the craft is about. Talent in this building is a given. What we do here is we train you in the craft of what is necessary to go out and do that. So having prefaced that, the amount of time you spend in the screen department, you get an introduction of it, a small introduction in the start of the second year, and then in the third year you come back to it again. And in the third year you have, as Matt has already said, bespoke films are written for you, for your cohort, for your group, and it's professional writers, professional directors. We have an in-house media and screen and audio department. Audio is another big thing that we have here, that we do quite a lot of. We have a very fecund relationship with Audible, and so that's given us all sorts of opportunities. And it's constantly evolving as we move on. So we're starting to look at mocap, motion capture. We're starting to look at games. These are all things that have grown in the last year, and as a training institution, a training organization, I should say, we move with the times. So you get, but in potentially, I would say, in terms of how much time you spend on technical film and TV work, it's about 20%-ish of the training.
Yeah, and similar on the MFA, there's a sort of similar balance. So in the second half of your first year is when you really lean into a screen and audio modules, and then in your second year, in your production year, is when you, similar to the BA program, make a bespoke film with a group of artists and professionals and directors. And again, there's lots of radio work in both programs. We've been very successful in the Carlton Hobbs, which is a sort of big radio competition amongst drama schools, and various students who get put forward for that. The successful winner gets a contract with the BBC Radio Drama Department. So all of that sort of stuff goes on, and you will be involved in all of those things. I think you sort of alluded to, one of the most interesting things is a really growing, our screen and audio department here is at the forefront of some really exciting and interesting innovation, from all of those VR models and mocap and gaming, as Vic was talking about. And there's some really exciting developments happening here at LAMDA, which will be coming out very soon. So watch this space for some really exciting news on that, because we're aware that the core of our training is that actor training, which goes for the same for screen or stage, but also these really exciting new innovative forms of work that are coming down the line in terms of animation, the work that you see all around you, and actually how do you get trained for that? What does that look like in this fusion of actor training with the technology? And that's something that's very much at the forefront of what's happening here at LAMDA.
Age ranges for the BA programs, good question. We don't formally have an upper range. We tend to look at students who have come out of school. So I think the youngest tends to be 17. We don't formally have an upper range. I would say, though, that we would have a conversation if someone is in a particular stage in their life, simply to have the question about the appropriateness of working with much younger people. Are they, if someone is, over 30, the conversation I would have as a BA course leader is that, is the MFA a more appropriate route because of life experience, because of your ability to be able to absorb and synthesize potentially? However, as I say, there is no formal route. We don't say you're not taking anybody of a particular age. It just has to be the right fit for the right group for the right time.
Yeah, and I don't know whether the question was asked about the MFA. The MFA is slightly different because often the lower age is usually 21, 22, 23, whatever your sort of post-undergraduate age is, and that has no upper limit at all. So it's not based on, it's based on all those sorts of things that we talked about. But the MFA naturally has an older cohort or a more mature cohort, or people who have been doing other things in life before they perhaps come to this program. Scholarships and bursaries for the MFA, yes there are. It's not, I mean, here at LAMDA, approximately a quarter of the students, about 24% of students receive scholarships and bursaries. That's across all of those programs. For the MFA, just very naturally, the postgraduate world of training does have less financial support in terms of scholarships and bursaries, but here at LAMDA there are. There are some prior to training that some students can qualify and apply for. There are many once you're here that support you into your second year. And we have a scholarship and bursary sort of panel and committee here that weigh up all of those applications and processes. But yeah, LAMDA is very fortunate to have some incredible donors and incredible supporters for our students here. And certainly across the BA program, there are far more of those opportunities than on the MFA, but there are many. For international students, it's a little bit more limited. A lot of those scholarships and bursaries are essentially for UK-based students, but international students do qualify for some of them, so that's a sort of small caveat on those scholarships and bursaries. Can you talk us through what the audition process looks like? Yeah, you talk about BA.
Yeah, I mean, since the pandemic, we've put our first round auditions online, so it's a self-tape situation. You guys will be required to send a self-tape of a contemporary monologue, and we will then go through the submissions that we get. The submissions are looked at by a range of practitioners. Some are quite a lot of people who teach here full-time, but also outside practitioners who we like, who jive with our ethos as such. So each recording is seen by two people, so that we just make sure that it's not subjective. Everything's always subjective. However, it's being seen by more than one person. The way the steps that we have in place is that, if someone is uncertain about something, that can come back into the pool for a second or a third or a fourth person to look at. What is important to say is that what we're looking for is what we'd like to do with all of our applications is to give you guys the best opportunity possible for us to see you and to be seen by us. Then when you make it into a recall setting, it's done live, you're in person, it's pretty much a whole day. You come in and you'll have a voice session, a movement session, an acting session. You'll be sent material in advance to learn, so you'll have an alumni actor playing the scene with you in the acting room. There's an interview process where we talk to you about yourself, your likes, your dislikes, your interests, what you hope to achieve, what your plans are for the world, for world domination, and then we make our decision based on that. Really important to stress here, we're looking to build a company every year. I say that again, it's worth reiterating that we're looking to build a company of actors. So those 30 people that we bring into the cohort will be a company that we feel is going to be able to work together in the best way possible and give each other the most opportunity over the 3 years that they're going to be together. It is carefully curated, and we take it very seriously. It's, we always say that come and have fun in an audition, and then leave it at the door, and whatever happens next happens.
Yeah, and I think the MFA is almost sort of identical really in that same process, and that recall process we talked about. The really interesting aspect of us is to see you in a room with another actor. So we bring in those graduate actors and see how we redirect you perhaps in those scenes and have a look. And those workshops that you have in the morning, what's important about that is not just for us to see you in a movement class or a voice class or singing, it's also for you to come and audition us, I guess, and kind of get a taste or a sense of what the teaching looks like here and go, does this feel like a place I want to be? Because that's important for us too. It's not just about us judging you or looking at you or trying to connect with you or make a relationship with you. It's you doing that with this building too, and kind of getting a sense of We have a lot of graduates around on that day. We also have current students that you can speak to, so you can kind of really get a sense and ask them those questions that you might not want to ask us about. What's it really like in? What does a day look like? And that's really helpful for us. There's a full transparency on that. There's nothing to sort of hide behind a mystique. We want you to kind of get a sense of the building and what it is here. So that's a really important part of that day. And there may be a second recall. Sometimes we do another recall after that, you know, if we want to bring a group of people back to see how you interact, because that sense of building a company of actors is really important to us. But those are the sort of rigorous steps that go through before we make that final collection of actors who we think are going to make and create some brilliant work together over their 2 or 3 year program. Great. Good. Thank you for your time. And there are lots of other channels. If there's the website's incredible. So if there's anything on there that we haven't answered, that website might answer those questions. Or by all means, our various platforms, you can ping those questions to our admissions team, and they'll probably find their way to us to answer. Okay. Thanks.